Before we get started, please go over to Amazon.com and grab a copy of my book, Education and Justice. If you have an African-American son in public school, you need this book because I teach you the many ways that public schools mistreat African-American boys and what you can do to help your son. So go over there and get your copy immediately. Recently, I saw an encounter between NBA young rising star, young phenom actually, Anthony Edwards and former President Obama. And it's gotten a lot of attention on social media. And I believe there's a larger picture here, right? Hello, everyone. I got great news. The merch is finally here. We've been waiting and waiting, but we can finally begin branding our channel. But we need your help to get our brand out there. If you like what we provide and like what you see, please go to the channel and grab your hoodie, your t-shirt, your mug, and we got more designs and products on the way. Just visit our YouTube channel at the Defiant Lawyers Network. Also, we will donate a portion of each dollar you spend on our merch towards some nonprofit. And remember, as always, stay woke. So let me say from the outset, I don't know Anthony Edwards personally, but I do believe that he should have and could have handled that encounter with former President Obama much better. Now, here's what I do know about Anthony. He's around 23 years old. He's from Atlanta. He's an elite basketball player. I mean, I've seen him do some monster dunks. So he's an absolute phenom. He also played football, making him an exceptional all-around athlete. He currently plays for the Timberwolves, and I'm sure he's a great young man from a great family. But most importantly, he's a young man, 23 years old, a young man. Now, when Obama was first elected, Edwards was about 6 or 7 years old. Let me take these off. Essentially, the same age as Obama's daughters, probably, somewhere in that neighborhood. So that means he didn't grow up fully understanding the magnitude of what Obama's presidency meant, especially for African Americans, right? He couldn't have at that age. Nevertheless, he should have handled that moment with Obama much better. Now, let's get real. I know I grew up in the hood. We as black men love to talk trash when it comes to sports. It's part of the culture. And Obama himself has thrown his fair share of shade, right? I've seen him do it in videos. But there are levels to this. When you're in the presence of someone like Obama, you show respect. You show the utmost respect. Additionally, I'm seeing a bigger issue here, and it's the reason I made this video. And that is of young African-American men dismissing and disrespecting Obama and not being called out on it. And it's a troubling trend among some of these younger black men. I mean, this casual disregard for Obama's legacy as if he's any old body, as if he's no big deal. Let's be clear. Obama is a huge deal. He is a huge deal. And recognizing that doesn't mean you have to agree with all his policies. I sure didn't. I had many policy disagreements with Obama. I celebrated some of his victories, and I loudly criticized some of his other decisions. But what I never did, what I will never do, is dismiss his significance. In fact, the night that he was elected, I cried like a baby. After all, he is the first black president of the United States, something many of us never thought we'd see in our lifetime. I remember when he was elected, I was thinking about my parents. If only they could have seen this, having grown up under Jim Crow. So that moment mattered. And I remember how badly Trump disrespected Obama before his historic election with that whole birtherism crap. by claiming that Obama wasn't a citizen of this country. And yet there's a growing number of young black men who have been misled by pro-black imposters who are people that push this narrative that no Democrat has ever done anything for black people, especially Obama. And they weaponize this ideal to manipulate, to mislead young black men into supporting Trump and MAGA and the Republican Party. But let's ask ourselves, what has Trump done for the black community? Nothing. No tangibles. But you may say, hold on here, Reverend Corbett. What about the First Step Act? And I would say, okay, so it's done some good things for people. However, the people that it has done good things for have not all been black. In other words, the First Step Act is not something just for black people. And the pro-black imposters have said a tangible means nothing unless it's for blacks only. Right? So is there a double standard here? One for Trump and another for the Democrats? In fact, not only has Trump not given any tangibles for African Americans, he's now pushing a relentless barrage of anti-black policies through executive orders, from attacking voting rights to gutting fair housing protections to doing away with DEI and so on. We could go on. And every time he does these things, these pro-black imposters, they scramble to make excuses for him, right? They find some reason to justify the anti-black policy Trump just released, okay? So today, I want to remind you why Obama deserves respect, not just because of what he accomplished for African Americans, and I'm going to show you that in just a moment, but because of what he still has to offer our community. We need this man. He's brilliant, and he can be a great resource as we now must regroup to handle the next 4 years of a president and a movement that seem to despise us blacks. And while we're at it, let's also address, again, this disinformation that Obama has not done anything for African Americans. Pure disinformation. All right? So let's get into it. We're going to go to another screen, and I want to show you some things here. All right, I have a few scriptures here that I think are very instructive about how we should deal with the elderly, okay? So first, there's Leviticus 19:32. It says, stand up in the presence of the aged, show respect for the elderly, and revere your God. So first, we are instructed to stand up in the presence of the aged. That's a sign of honor. That's a sign of respect. When I'm in the courtroom representing the client, when the judge comes in, the bailiff says, all rise. All rise. And everyone is required to stand up to show the judge respect, to show his or her bench respect, right? Respect for the law, etc. Well, that's what this is saying. This person deserves respect just by virtue of the fact that they have lived, had the wisdom, the intelligence, the knowledge to make it to see, like in my case, 63 years old in just a few days. All right? Now, of course, it doesn't mean you literally stand up necessarily. Sometimes you do. Okay, I've been in situations where I needed to stand up for this elderly person, and I've done so. But the point is, show them respect. Then it says wisdom is with the aged. So if you want to know where wisdom is, it's with the older people. So what you should do, younger people especially, is find those aged people in your community, in your family, on your job, in your neighborhood. Pick their brains. Ask them questions. And get that wisdom that they have that you don't have. All right, you remember I told you in a previous video, the Bible says there's nothing new under the sun. So these people have lived through a cycle of life and learned some things that you've yet to learn, and you can learn them a whole lot quicker if you recognize that they have some wisdom that you don't have to go through bad things to learn. Then 1 Timothy 5 says, don't speak angrily to an older man. Don't speak disrespectfully. Don't talk to the older dude like you would your peers. That's what it's saying. But talk to him as if he were your father, which really points out a situation. A lot of young African-American men were not raised by their father in the same home. And so many of them have emotions everywhere from anger to disrespectful to indifference. And having not been raised by a man, many of them just don't know how to deal with older men. I don't know that that's the case with Anthony Edwards. I don't know him. But with a lot of them, and I see it a lot, okay? As an attorney, I see a lot of that in our community. Our firm has represented countless juveniles and adult African-American men, and I was a school teacher. I saw the difference between young men, young black men who were raised by their fathers and those who were not. I could pick them out. And then being a father, I know what I insisted from my son. We have a son about 31 years of age. I couldn't imagine him talking to Obama or anyone else who's worthy of respect the way that Anthony did Obama. And it wasn't bad. It wasn't cussing. Anthony, he didn't get into that. But still, you don't talk to someone of Obama's stature like he's your peer. And that any older person, Obama's older than I am. He's about 64, 65 years old. He's old enough to be Anthony's grandfather. You just don't do that. And if my son did that, he would not want to deal with me having done that. If I saw that he embarrassed our family, like, who? You see what I'm saying here? And then if we go back over here, the scripture says, give honor to whom honor is due. Give honor to whom honor is due. So the question then becomes, is Obama due of honor? Is he an honorable person? I would say absolutely. So let's go over there and see. All right, so we're looking at another screen. Is Obama honorable and worthy of honor? Yes. First, he's the first black president. That alone deserves honor and respect. He is the first black man to become the president of the United States of America, a country that has been dominated by white supremacy, white male hegemony, and he was smart enough, brilliant enough, qualified enough, and all the other things. And we know his life was scrutinized, terribly. Like I said, Trump tried to say he wasn't even an American citizen. So he went through, and you remember the disrespect that he took. He went through all sorts of things to become the president of the United States of America. That is big. That is huge. And while president, he championed policies beneficial for blacks, such as the Affordable Care Act, the criminal justice reform, civil rights, My Brother's Keepers, that program he put together. He did a lot for blacks. We're going to take a little more look at that in just a moment. So it's disinformation when you hear the pro-black imposters say that Obama did nothing for blacks. Okay? Nothing. He was also successful in his personal, private endeavors, right? A Harvard-trained civil rights attorney. He went to 2 Ivy League universities. I think he went to Columbia undergrad, Harvard for law school. That's an accomplishment, especially for a young man himself who grew up without his biological father. So he has personal qualities that are worthy of honor, right? He became a state senator. He became a U.S. senator. And before all that, he was an organizer. He didn't take his big fancy law degree and go to corporate America and make millions. He has millions now from being an author and so on. But no, he went and served our community. He went and served our community under an African-American pastor who is honorable in his own respects, the Reverend Dr. Jeremiah Wright, who was Obama's pastor for many years. Dr. Wright, the Reverend Dr. Wright, is recognized across the country as a pioneer of liberation theology. And Obama sat there for 20 years, him and his family. Okay? So this man is absolutely worthy of honor from the African-American community. And most importantly, he has a beautiful family. He's a great husband, a great father. And that is really the most important thing. And he has a relationship with the Lord. This man is absolutely worthy of honor and respect. He has a clean name and a clean reputation. He has lived an impeccable life that should be an example and an inspiration for all young Black men. That's the point I'm making. And has his life been all symbolic and just mere symbolism? Absolutely not. So now what I want to do is just show you just a few of the things that he did for our community. All right, let's go there now. And you probably never heard these things because there's all this disinformation that's been out there for the last decade that Obama has done nothing for Black people. And it's wrong. It's disinformation. So this is October 14th, 2016, just a couple of months before he was leaving office. And this is entitled Progress of the African American Community During the Obama Administration. Now, before we look at it, I want you to remember, some of you may not remember this, but when Obama took office, the country was failing. It was on the brink of an economic collapse. When he took office, literally, the country was experiencing the Great Recession. The Great Recession during 2008, 2007, 2009, it was literally on the actual cliff of economic disaster. I remember it like it was yesterday. So this Black man, Barack Obama, saved this country. He saved the country. He doesn't get credit for it, but he saved America, as Black men have done so many times, laid the foundation for the country, and at various times have had to save the country from itself. So here's some of the things that Obama did in that economy. The unemployment rate for African Americans peaked at 16.8% in March of 2010, just a couple of years after he took office. Because of that recession, the country was losing millions of jobs per month. And when unemployment is high for the country, it's even higher for Black men. So he took it when it was 16.8%. This goes on to say, after experiencing a larger percentage point increase from its pre-recession average to its peak than the overall employment rate did. Phenomenal. Since then, the African-American unemployment rate has seen a larger percentage point decline in the recovery, falling much faster than the overall unemployment rate over the last year. That was the turnaround that he brought about. Watch this, the next thing. The real median income of Black households increased 4.1% between 2014 and 2015. Let me put this full screen. The president enacted permanent expansions of the Earned Income Tax Credit and Child Tax Credit, which together now provide about 2 million African American working families with an average tax cut of about $1,000 each. Okay? I can't read all of this. The poverty rate for African Americans fell faster in 2015 than in any year since 1999. Since 1999. African American children also made large gains in 2015, with the poverty rate falling 4.2 percentage points and 400,000 fewer children in poverty. So you see, when the pro-black imposters say Obama did nothing for black people, they're lying. And all you got to do is fact check them. Just go online and type in, what did Obama do for black Americans? And it'll just pop up. Health. Since the start of Affordable Cares Act's first open enrollment period at the end of 2013, the uninsured rate among non-elderly African Americans has declined by more than half. Do you understand how important that is? So many African American people had no health insurance whatsoever. So they would go oftentimes to the ER for health issues that could have been taken care of at an urgent care, but they couldn't be seen at the urgent care because they had no money, nor health insurance. The Affordable Care Act gave those African Americans affordable health care, which improves the life and longevity of so many African Americans. Today, about 4 million African Americans get their health care through the Affordable Care Act, or Obamacare. Teen pregnancy among African American women is at an historic low during the Obama administration. Life expectancy at birth is the highest it's ever been for African Americans. So what is this about Obama did nothing for the black community? It's all lies. The high school graduation rate for African American students is at its highest point in history. Since the president took office, over 1 million more black and Hispanic students enrolled in college. Among African Americans and Hispanic students 25 and older, high school completion is highest than it's ever been. Support for HBCUs. Trump got such acclaim for what he supposedly done for HBCUs when he was elected in 2016. Yet no one ever talks about what Obama did. In fact, what Trump did was a continuation of what Obama did. The U.S. Department of Education is responsible for funding more than $4 billion for HBCUs each year. We're now experiencing Trump's second administration, and it's doing away with, by executive orders, it's doing away with scholarships and financial aid and so on that benefit African Americans. Yet Obama never did anything for black people. Pell Grant funding for HBCU students increased significantly between 2007 and 2014, growing from $523 million to $824 million. And oh, by the way, let's see what happens with the historic funding for HBCUs under the Biden-Harris administration now that Trump has taken office. Let's see if that HBCU historic funding continues or whether Trump now is going to get rid of it. Let's just see. And I want to tell you this. He did this despite Mitch McConnell and those white supremacists in Congress fighting him tooth and nail for every inch of all that he accomplished. So it's not like Trump, who now has control, the GOP, MAGA, has control of the House and the Senate and the Supreme Court. No, Obama got these things done against unprecedented I said unprecedented, unparalleled opposition. The man deserves every bit of our respect. And as I said earlier, not only for what he accomplished, but because we need the man's brilliance today more than ever to help us get through the next 4 years of Trump. Come on, folks, we got to put our heads together here. We got to think. We can't be misled by these folks out here. There's so much more that I could say. Let me just share one more thing. One more. The incarceration rates for African American men and women fell during each year of the Obama administration and are at their lowest points in over 2 decades. The number of juveniles in secure detention has been reduced dramatically over the last decade. My brother's keeper. President Obama launched the My Brother's Keeper initiative on February 27th, 2014 to address persistent opportunity gaps faced by boys and young men of color and ensure that all young men can reach their full potential. And some of you are going to say, well, men of color, that means it's... Most of the young men in these My Brother's Keepers local programs are black boys. Most of them, the overwhelming majority, are black boys. And the next time you want to say it's not really helping black people, apply that to Trump. So all I'm trying to say is this man deserves our respect, and we need his help. When he said just before the 2024 election that there's no way you're going to support Trump, who has denigrated you over and over again, so many black men got offended that he would dare say such a thing to them. That is what I'm talking about. It's that I think not only is unjustified, but it's counterproductive because the man can help us. So the way that Anthony Edwards dealt with Obama seems emblematic of the way a bunch of young African-American men deal with Obama. And as I said, not only is it unjust, disrespectful, but it's also counterproductive because there's a whole lot more in Barack and Michelle Obama that can benefit us. All right, so that is my take on that encounter between Anthony Edwards and Obama. Again, we talk trash. We black men, when it comes to sports, man, I know I do. When I was playing basketball, and I played up until I was almost 50. I played a lot. And I talk trash. So we do that. I get it. But when you are a 23-year-old young man or 24-year-old young man or 54-old black man, and you have the opportunity to converse with the first black president, you show that dude respect for his accomplishments and for his wisdom. This dude got to be brilliant with all he accomplished against all that opposition. He has a lot that he can say that could be helpful to our community. All right? Thank you for watching this video. I am Reverend and Civil Rights Attorney Augustus Corbett, and remember always, stay woke.